Well, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I hope things are going well for you right now. Just wanted to check in with you, see how things are going. Again, I want to put a plug in for Funny Friday. So if you haven't had a chance to uh, send me a joke yet, you still have plenty of time to do that. Please feel free to do that over Messenger, Facebook, uh, Facebook Messenger, text, or email, whatever works best for you. Still plenty of time to get into those, and we'll have that tomorrow. One of the things I want to just talk about today or before I do that, I'm going to switch my thought for a second. Uh, Also, if you need produce right now, we have plenty of produce. So if you need potatoes, onions, we have lots of produce right now. And what we're trying to do is we get a shipment in twice a week. Crazy Fresh, which is out in Hammond, uh, has been very gracious and been giving us a lot of produce every week. So we're trying to keep that produce going out to folks. So please feel free. Let me know if you need some produce. I got, like I said, I got a ton of potatoes right now. I got a ton of onions. And so if you need some of those, let me know. We got also a lot of other stuff too. We got carrots, we have celery, I have apples, I have oranges. Um, and each day it comes there we get, or I should say each day, twice a week we get new stuff as well too. So let me know if there's anything particular you're looking for. We also have meat too if you need some meat right now, and toilet paper if you need toilet paper. So feel free to let us know, and we're happy. Or if you know someone else that we need to drop this off for too, let me know as well too, as I'm happy to talk to folks, because the big thing is we just want to make sure you're supported during this time. So now, since I got all my announcements out of the way, you know me, that's the announcements is the longest part of the videos, right? I just like to give you announcements. Um, so the other thing I wanted to talk about today was I was listening to a podcast talking about resiliency. Britta had sent it to me. It was a Michael Hyatt podcast. And so I've listened to Michael Hyatt, and I think it was his daughter that was talking with this particular one. It was talking about resiliency during this time. So how do we so resiliency, another thing, how do we make it through this time? How do we do the best that we can during this time? So they gave some different examples, which I thought were good for us to. And I know for myself too, because there's been a couple days that I've just been, it's been hard just to even get out of bed. It's been, it's been a hard day. It's just sometimes, I don't know about you, but I just feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulders, and like, how do I just even get from breakfast to lunch or lunch to dinner? Um, but I think there's some practices in this that I have been putting into place that have been really helpful, that help me with thinking about how do I deal with this sort of stuff. The first one is your how do you limit what you intake, especially media wise. So I shouldn't say limits, or how do you I'm trying to think of how they put it, but I think it was, how do you guard your intake of stuff? And so what they're saying with this is not look at the news. What they're saying is take, if you're going to do the news, do it at a specific time, and don't, because what happens, I know for me, like when this first was happening, like every day I was on, checking Yahoo News or my Twitter feed, or CNN or Fox News, or I was looking at all these different news channels and stuff like that just to get more and more information. Um, and I think as we've gone through this process, I've sort of backed off doing that, and I think that has helped my mental health and my resiliency a lot more. Doesn't mean I don't listen to the news or try to stay up on current events and stuff like that. What it means is I take a specific time. I might do something. What I have been doing in the morning is listening to the news on the way into church, or if I'm not at church, take a little time in the morning, maybe like 20 minutes, and just look at the news, and then I'm done for the day unless something big happens. If some big notification happens or something like that happens, then I'll look at some more. But otherwise, and I try to also balance that with some other intake. What are those things that help lift my soul up? Is there some good news stories that people helping people together, or stuff that makes me laugh, stuff that inspires me, stuff that motivates me. I've been, trying to figure out what type of podcast I'd like to listen to, and um, and like the Michael Hyatt one was beneficial. And then I also watch or listen to the Rewatchables, which is a story about films and why they are rewatchable and stuff like that. So how do you guard the intake of stuff that you do, because I think that helps with our resiliency. So sort of monitor your news intake and stuff like that, and other stuff that can be very emotional on you too. Again, it's not saying we avoid those altogether, but how do we sort of monitor or moderate that so it's not all the things that we do, because that can affect us very negatively. The second thing to do, which we sort of talked about when we first several videos ago, was a routine. Another thing we can do to help with resiliency. There's 5 of them total again. So the second one is routine. So have you sort of figured out when you're getting up in the morning? Have you figured out when you're going to bed at night? Have you sort of figured out when your meals are at? Have you figured out, even a morning routine of when you wake up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, you read the paper, having that routine is great. Or is it everybody in the family gets up between 7 and 8 o'clock so people can get starting on their homework? Or is it always we have dinner at 6:30? What are those things that you can do to give yourself a routine? Because the hard part right now is we have a lot of uncertainties in our lives. And what the routine does, it allows us to have a sense of control over our lives. Because we can know that at 3:30, I am going to watch I Love Lucy or whatever you want to watch. I'm going to binge a Netflix show for an hour. I'm going to, go to the garden and work from noon to 1 o'clock. Or that dinner is always at 6:30. So at 6:30, whatever it takes for dinner to happen, you have it ready to go by 6:30. So I think it's important that you have those routines in place, because it's during this time especially that's really helpful to have those type of routines. Because it helps give you certainty in this time of uncertainty. And so it gives us some matter of control. So I think that'll help. The third thing is exercise or get moving. I think a lot of times someone was talking when I was listening to the Michael Hyatt podcast. They were saying that one gentleman had been on a Zoom call for 14 hours, and that's not, different phone calls during the day for 14 hours, and that's just not healthy. So how do you give yourself some time to get up and move? And so is it a walk in the afternoon? Is it taking some time to work in the garden for a little bit now that we're starting to get good weather? Knock on wood. What is those things that you can do? Is it straightening up a room of the house? Is it, what is that stuff that helps keep you moving? For myself, I've been starting to start running a lot more. And so I've gotten up to, today was probably the longest I've ran, and that was close to almost 5 miles today, which was pretty good for me. Normally I do about 2 miles, and so today I did a little extra. But yeah, just taking some time to get some moving. What that does is helps get the blood flowing, it gives you some, allows some of that emotional outburst through your actions, allows you to have a change of scenery, so you're not always looking at your screen and stuff like that. So that's number 3. Number 4, talk to others. So that's something I've also been encouraging you to do as well too. So have you been talking to other folks as well too? Because sometimes this can be very self-isolating. We're isolated from each other. So how do we reach out to other folks? Because human beings need to have human interactions. And so if you're not being able to get those, who are you reaching out to? Are you talking to a family member? Are you talking to a friend? Are you sending a letter? Are you sending an email? Are you calling somebody on the phone? What can you do for somebody to talk to them, to communicate with them? And so I would invite you to do that, because we need that human connection, especially in this uncertain time right now. Again, that's having that certainty of being able to talk to somebody, just bounce some ideas off of them. And so I would encourage you to do that. And finally, number 5, call a professional if you need a professional. If you need to talk to have some professional help as well too. This time, this pandemic time that we're going through right now, maybe bringing out some other issues that you've had that you've haven't been able to deal with the rest of your life. Some other trauma that's been going on in your life, or some other feelings that are going on that this pandemic is sort of dredging up. And so don't feel afraid to contact a professional. I know you could probably start with Western Wisconsin, and they can give you some resources of some folks you can do to get some tele therapy and stuff like that. So yeah, So I think that's another option. So these are 5 ways that we can become more resilient during this time, or 5 ways where we can get a little bit more control back and not let the circumstances that are surrounding us sort of dictate how we act towards one another, and how, and dictate all of our feelings. So this resiliency allows us to do that. So yeah. So I hope this was a little bit helpful video again today. So 5 things that help with your resiliency. Again, what you take in, what your routine is, how you do exercise, talk to other people, and get professional help if you need it. So those are some techniques those are just things that I heard today that I wanted to pass on to you, because I know I'm going to be using these things as well too. So, well, hopefully you don't mind the weed whacker that's going on outside. So, will you take care, and we will see you tomorrow for Funny Friday. Again, jokes or even a riddle if you want to bring a riddle. We will have the answer to the 2 riddles from last week up. So you take care, God bless, and we will see you tomorrow.